the Telford. We have with us today David Zwebner and ancient Ashkelon and the connection to modern Ashkelon and the South African community. During the event, Aviva will be running the chat. If anybody needs any question or has some issue, please communicate with Aviva via the chat. You'll see on your screens a little red chat. She's probably sent you her hello. Do you see on your screens a little red dot? And if you want to communicate with Aviva by chat, please do that during the chat, during David's presentation. Anyway, a warm welcome to everybody. Doron Klein, our CEO, would like to say a few words before we begin. So I'll pass you over to Doron and then we will come back to me. Doron.
Darabah, Teddy, and welcome to everybody. Special shalom to David. David and I grew up in Bulawayo and known each other for many years. And David's father was the rabbi of the Bulawayo Shul. And a long connection going back many years. So it's wonderful to be together with you and to hear from you about Ashkelon today. So thank you, David. And I want a special thank you to Teddy and Aviva for tirelessly working to put together all these great events for everybody, a great way for us to connect together as a community. When we can't meet each other face to face, at least to meet each other virtually. So we're going to start out just with for a few minutes, just for a bit of background on the organization that makes this possible. So with your permission, I'm just going to start sharing my screen and then we'll go back to
okay.
Okay. So,
What happened?
okay, are you able to see your screens that it says Telford? You can see.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you very much. Great. So Telford, the organization that's behind today's event, Telford is our nickname. Tel Aviv Federation from our days in 1948. And we were founded to look after the 800 Machal soldiers who came to serve in the War of Independence from Southern Africa. And thank God they did. They had a huge impact on the war efforts. And as Yitzhak Rabin said, that in the merit of the Machal soldiers, we won the War of Independence. And after the war, the South African Zionist Federation said, you guys did a great job. You can pack up and come back to South Africa. But there were a lot of those 800 soldiers who wanted to stay here. So since 1948, we've been operating in assistance with the absorption of Olim. And today we also not only help the South Africans, but also the Australians. We're no longer officially connected to the South African Zionist Federation. We've been independent for the last 40 years, but we still carry that name with pride. It talks about our history from 1948. Our mission is to promote the quality of life of Southern Africans and Australians in Israel. And we want to expose people to the special quality of life that Israel provides. And we don't want to keep South Africans and Australians in a bubble. We want them to participate and contribute to Israeli society. And the last slide just talks about what the organization does. Each one of these squares is a full-time staff member together with a committee of volunteers, Teddy himself being the chairman of the Aliyah Project Committee. And we're talking about Aliyah and Klita, so that's the heart of Telford since 1948. You can see that last year we had 417 Olim from South Africa, 184 from Australia, and we're also starting to help the Olim from England through our regional volunteers. We're in touch with the Olim both pre-Aliyah, before they come, helping them prepare their Aliyah and their Klita. Once they arrive, we meet them at the airport, see them through the process in English, and then we're in touch with them on a monthly basis for the first year during their Aliyah. If any of you would like to volunteer and become part of our regional committees to help us absorb Olim, please be in touch with Aviva. Aviva is in charge of the regional committees, and David Zwebner being a volunteer in the Ashkelon Regional Committee. As you can see, we have a special division here for lone soldiers. We have 170 lone soldiers, 110 of them from South Africa and 60 from Australia. They need a lot of help both before they make Aliyah and before they're inducted, while they're in the army, especially after they leave the army. Entering civilian life is not easy in Israel, so a special help for the lone soldiers. We're the only all-day organization that provides housing. We have 105 rental apartments, which we rent out to the community at up to 30% below market rates. So we subsidize every family. Every one of those 105 families is subsidized by us. And 70% of the rental income goes to help the needy. So when those people pay rent, 70% of their rent goes to help the needy. And we assist 450 needy individuals every single month. We have a full-time social worker that helps people with counseling, and we give people food cards to make sure that they have food to eat and they're not going hungry. Part of our events, you can see here 90 events a year, 5,000 participants. That's in a regular year. Now with Corona, we've moved online. And again, thank you to Teddy and Aviva, and thank you all for joining us today. We hope soon we'll be able to move back to our face-to-face events. The Telfed magazine, if you're not getting the magazine, if you're not getting the newsletter, please sign up. You can just drop Aviva a line and she'll make sure that you're on the database. You can sign up via our website. The newsletter goes out to 10,000 recipients every month and will tell you what's going on, not only in Telfed, but within the South African and Australian community in Israel generally. Please join our Facebook page. There's over 3,500 people on that Facebook page, very active. You get a lot of information from there. And also those that are on Instagram, you'll find us there too. Our employment advisors in touch with people pre-Aliyah, post-Aliyah, even veteran olim that have been here a long time, can lose their jobs. So we have a full-time employment counselor and a career advisor for those people that need to change careers. We also have mentors. If you feel you can be a mentor to a new Olé to help someone get into the marketplace in their field, please be in touch with Aviva. She'll put you in touch with our employment department and you can become a volunteer mentor. Besides the regional committees, we welcome in Olim. There are also all the committees within the office, as I said, a committee for each one of these squares. And we also have a volunteer program helping Ethiopian Olim learn English. That's our strength. Let's help other Olim learn English. If you'd like to join the English-speaking program, teaching Ethiopian Olim English, please be in touch with Aviva. Scholarships. Please ensure that you, your children, and your grandchildren, that you're all registered on the Telfed database, because if you're registered on the Telfed database, then you can apply for a scholarship if you're going to study. We give out over 500 scholarships a year. As you can see here, all our students receiving the scholarship at the Knesset. We're the only all-day organization that's given that honor to give out our scholarships at the Knesset. And the scholarships can come up to 9,000 shekels. So certainly worthwhile to apply for those Telfed scholarships. Please make sure you're on the database. Thank you very much, and have a very special event today with David. I'm sure that we're all going to both enjoy it and come out much more knowledgeable about Ashkelon. And thank you for this, David. I'm now going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going back to you.
Thank you, Doron, for that. David, we will be starting in a very few seconds. So if you're ready, everybody else, please take your seats and we will sit down and enjoy David's presentation. David Zwebner, thank you for giving of your time to the Telfed family. David Zwebner was born in London, England in 1949. He was schooled in Southern Africa from 1952 until matriculation. In 1966, he left for Israel, where he lives today with his wife, Ronit, 4 children, and so far 12 grandchildren. He's a qualified systems analysis, licensed financial investment advisor, real estate broker, and tour guide. While completing his BA at the Ashkelon College in 2018, he discovered the crucial role played by South African Jewry in the establishment of the beautiful garden city Ashkelon. The founding of modern Ashkelon is the fruit of his research and his first book. David, share with us the wonders of ancient Ashkelon and your research. Thank you again.
Okay, so first of all, good morning. And Teddy, I want to thank you for inviting me, and Aviva for your technical assistance. And the big mazal tov to Doron on Asif. I think that's wonderful news. Okay, and I'm going to try and take you through Ashkelon from past to present. Okay, and at the end, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask. Okay, so you can see the picture. I guess some of you recognize yourselves in this picture. This was taken, I think, about 5 years ago, right? Let's move on. Let me see how I'll move on. Hold on. Why am I not moving?
You can use your mouse, David. Right click on your mouse, and then it will say move to the next slide. See if that works.
Nothing is changing. Just a second. Oh, there we go. So we let's start from the not chronological, but in honor of our Torah. So I want to show you that Ashkelon is mentioned many, many times in the Tanakh. It's mentioned in Judges. Okay, and the Spirit of the Lord came upon him. He went down to Ashkelon. This is talked about, of course, Shimshon. Then you have in Jeremiah, again in Jeremiah, again in Jeremiah, and Amos, Sphania, Zechariah. So Ashkelon was very well known during the time of the Tanakh. Now let's go through a little bit of history. Most of the peoples in the Middle East have passed through and have actually occupied Ashkelon, and you can find remnants of them today. You have the Canaanites, the Philistines, the Egyptians, of course, the Israelites, Syrians, Babylonians, Persians, the Greeks, the Romans. King Herod, by the way, apparently went to school in Ashkelon. Then there was a Byzantine period, and then, of course, Islam. And along came the Crusaders. And what's interesting is if you look at this map, you see a map of the Near East, 1135, right, which was between the First and the Second Crusades. And you can see marked, then if you can see this, the yellow sign here, which says Ashkelon, right, on the underneath the Kingdom of Jerusalem. So Ashkelon was actually a very, very important place already all the way along the line. Then you had Salah ad-Din, who got rid of the Crusaders. Then you had the Beybars, Mamluk, the Turks came, and then the British. Okay? And after the British, I'm very pleased to say, as we all know, here we came, right, 1948. What's quite interesting is the fact that, just a second, what's quite interesting is the fact that exactly 72 years ago, within 1 week, Ashkelon was actually captured by the Israeli forces. It just happens to be in the case. Here you have it. In 1948, Egypt sent around 10,000 troops under the command of Major General Ahmad Ali al-Mawawi to Palestine, April 1948. And then November the 4th, 48, the IDF captured al-Majdal, which was the name of Ashkelon at the time. And the following day, Israeli forces retook the ruins of the Yad Mordechai, which is close by. Al-Majdal's name was changed to Migdal Gaza. I'm going to show you a few of the pictures that were originally taken right in the beginning when our troops came into Ashkelon. Okay, here you have one of the downed Egyptian planes. I presume it's an Egyptian plane. A tank. This is a picture of some of the houses, and I have to tell you, some of these houses still exist today in Ashkelon, okay, in the Atikot area of Ashkelon. It's quite fascinating. Here are troops who came in. Don't know if anybody recognizes any family members, but I have no doubt that there were a lot of South African volunteers who were fighting at the time, okay, as Doron mentioned earlier on. And who knows? Here's another picture. That building still stands, the one at the back. Another picture. Another picture. This is the central place, and you can see that tower on the right-hand side. Okay, that's the Migdal or Majdal. Okay, and that still exists today. In fact, here in Ashkelon, of which I'm a member, which is the philanthropic part of the city of Ashkelon, we have our offices right there. Then, of course, came the South Africans, okay? And this was quite interesting. In the center of Ashkelon, you have this plaque written in Afrikaans, in Hebrew, and in English. And I found this by chance, and I said, this is really fascinating. And I started asking people, what's the connection with Ashkelon and South Africa? And the Israelis, if anybody had anything to say, would say to me, ah, yeah, there were once a limb from South Africa and they all left. That was the answer. Okay. South Africans had no inkling that there was any connection. And the main street is called Drum Africa Street. And I've asked people, but the main street is South Africa Street. How come? Well, yeah, they were in, but they all left. So I did a BA recently at the Michlala in Ashkelon. I finished in 2018. And you have to submit various papers to your professors. So I asked them if they didn't mind me doing research on the South African connection. And what I found was absolutely astonishing. It blew my mind, so much so that I published a book about 7 months ago on this whole subject. What I found was that in 5th of September, 1949, here you can see it a bit better, the South African Jewish Appeal raised £1 million sterling, which was a fortune of money at the time. And the purpose was to help not immigrants, but to help refugees. And they came to the state of Israel, they met with Golda Meir, and you can see at the top, it says Golda Meir, HaKriya, that she became afterwards Golda Meir. And they said, here, £1 million to help the refugees. Golda said, listen, our problem is not to bring the refugees. Our problem is where to put them, okay? Now, you have got the money and the wherewithal and the capabilities to design, to build, and to run a city. We will give you land in a place called Majdal, which was historic Ashkelon. We want you to build, run, design a city for these new immigrants. So of that, they wanted 250,000 pounds to go towards Kiryat Yovel in Jerusalem, and 750,000 pounds to go to Ashkelon. This is actual contract, okay? The South Africans put down a couple of, I wouldn't say demands, but a couple of conditions to agree to do it. They said, we want you to provide us with water, link us to the water system of the country. We want you to link us to the railroad, to the road system of the country. And most important, we want you to ensure that there will be employment for the people who actually will be living there, because if the people don't have work, they won't be able to pay taxes. If nobody's paying taxes, the city's not going to run. This is the second part. You can see, let's say number C, that the government undertakes to build at its own expense an asphalt road of at least 2 lanes of traffic road from the main road to the area under construction. This road to be built at the early stages of development of the scheme. Okay. The government will undertake within a reasonable time to open up the railroad which at present exists at Majdal. There was actually a railroad which was built by the Turks and used by the British because they all realized that Ashkelon was a very, very strategic location. Here's the second part of the contract. Okay, employment, number 1. As the need of obtaining gainful employment is fundamental to the success of our scheme, the government undertakes to see that an industry or industries will be erected within a period of 12 months to employ at least 200 workers. Okay, that's the most important part. Okay. Well, what can I tell you? The Israeli government provided the water, and the Israeli government provided the link to the road system. But when it came to actually providing the labor, that the Israeli government fell short. Here you have a nice, when I did my research, I came across a whole bunch of things. This was dated 21st of August, 52. It was put out by Ben Gurion. The translation is to Dr. Zonnebend, who was the first mayor of Ashkelon, the South African mayor. With my knowledge of what South African Jews have accomplished for Israel in the past, I know that your wish to transform Ashkelon into a model city will have every success. Yours sincerely, David Ben Gurion. And he was right. Ashkelon is a rip-roaring success today. It took time, okay, but it's quite astonishing today. You can read it in Hebrew, the Dr. Zonnebend Hanechbad, Yodei, Mashi Yodei Drum Africa Asu Be'eretz Ad Achshav, אני בטוח שרצונכם להפוך את אשקלון לעיר מופת, יש לו כל הסיכויים להצלחה. He was right. Here you have a picture of when the city was actually, just let me move this away here, just a second. When the city was established, you have Shoshana Damari, who was a well-known singer. You have Ben Gurion. I don't know who this lady is here. I don't think it's his wife. Okay. This is Dr. Zonnebend. Let's go through some more pictures. When I did my report, I had access to the archives of the South African Jewish Board of Deputies in South Africa, and I picked up all these reports, which I have copies today. In my book, I couldn't publish all of them. I just put, just to show you what's available, what I have. But it shows you how initially there was tremendous support by the joint in South Africa as it started. And then South Africans had to raise another £1 million to keep Ashkelon going because there wasn't enough labor for the local residents. And you saw towards the end, around about 1957, 58, they were very, very disgruntled in South Africa, and they came to the conclusion that what they have to do is hold a ceremony and give Ashkelon back to the Israeli government. And that's what they did, okay? Here you have, this was 1956, Golda Meir was on a bend, and here's the president, Ben Zvi. Ben Zvi, by the way, actually had a house in Ashkelon. It's now a historic house in Rehov Drum Africa Street. Okay, and there's of course Golda Meirson. These houses are the very, very first houses of Ashkelon. Okay, this is what Ashkelon was. It was a fantastic area with a fantastic beach with nothing there. Okay, Majdal was much further in. This was the original Ashkelon housing. Here on the left, you have Johannesburg Street with my wife as a pin-up girl. And on the right, you have Cape Town Street, Kaapstad Street. Okay. And again, what astonished me is that nobody in Ashkelon, and not the South Africans, realized what the heck was the connection. They just took it for granted. Well, there's a street called Johannesburg Street, there's a street called Kaapstad, South Africa Street, but that was it. Okay, let's talk about Ashkelon today, okay? Because Ashkelon was really made into a model garden city. It was designed astonishingly by Roy Cantor-Roberts and Norman Hanson. They were the two people from Johannesburg who did a tremendous amount of good work. I've actually located the son of one of them, of Hanson. He's located in England. He's also a top architect in England, won a lot of international prizes. So in Ashkelon, you have the Ashkelon National Park. Okay, it's surrounded by a wall which was built in the mid-12th century by the Fatimid Caliphate. The wall was originally 2,200 meters in length. You've still got parts of the wall which exist. The site contains archaeological remains of the different civilizations that lived in the area, including Canaanites, Philistines, Persians, Phoenicians, Greeks, Romans, Byzantines, Muslims, Crusaders. Everybody was there because they all thought it was a very strategic area. It was a port, okay? And initially when the Crusaders came, they would go directly from Ashkelon all the way through to Jerusalem. And there's a lovely road actually which goes from the area of behind Jerusalem, let's say, all the way down to Ashkelon, a beautiful road. We can see an old Roman road, which was cut out of the rocks. You can still see it today. That was the main route. This here you can see is the actual plan of the archaeological site, the Ecological Park. It's on the beach. On the left, you can see Yamatichon, the beach. Okay, it has a lot of archaeological finds, which are very interesting. And I just want to point out and mention there was a lady called Lady Stanhope in the 19th century, who was a fascinating lady. You might want to read up about her, who believed that there was a hidden treasure of 1,000 pieces of gold hidden in Ashkelon. And she got permission from the Turks to come and actually do some archaeological surveys here. And she was one of the first people actually digging from an archaeological aspect in Ashkelon, Bichlal, in Eretz Israel, but in Ashkelon specifically. She didn't find the gold, but she did find some pieces of exquisite works, which she went and she had broken and thrown back into the sea because she wanted to show the Turks that she really wasn't interested in archaeology. She was actually interested in the gold. And since she couldn't find it, she was destroying the archaeological stuff that she found. Let's talk a little bit about this. You had the Philistines here. King David put an end to the Philistine rule in Ashkelon when it became an independent city. Saladin in 1187 defeated the Crusaders who occupied the city. It was then destroyed by the notorious Sultan Baybars, Mamelukes in 1270, who shut off its continental harbor port in order to quash the future of the city. He wanted to make sure that nobody would actually come again, so he broke down the port. Ashford, the town of Majdal, was re-established during the Mameluke period. At the end of the 16th century, Majdal was the sixth largest settlement in Israel. During the Ottoman period, the British mandate, Majdal Ashkelon was considered an important district town. And the Egyptian blockade, as we said, was lifted November the 5th, 48, and Majdal was conquered. Here they say, in 1952, South African Jews initiated the establishment of the Afridar neighborhood from which the new city of Ashkelon grew. Now, what do we have in the park? We've got a Canaanite gate, which is the oldest Canaanite gate in existence in the world. It's made out of mud bricks, and you can see it today. It's quite fascinating. It was built around 1850 BC, which is a long, long time ago, almost 4,000 years ago. Mostly brick and limestone gate is 15 meters long, more than 2 meters wide, and almost 4 meters high. It's definitely worth a visit to Ashkelon and to the park just to get to see it. Philistines, we found a lot of Philistine remains here. We know there were Philistines because of DNA testing. Okay, they came to the area around the 12th century. They found a lot of archaeological finds. Here you have a calf and a shrine, a silver shrine, which was found. What's interesting is Muhammad's grandson, Hussein ibn Ali, right? There was a belief that he was beheaded and his head was buried in the grounds of today Barzilai Hospital. And in 1948, there was a mosque there. In 1948, Moshe Dayan gave instructions to immediately destroy the mosque. The mosque was destroyed. Okay? But till this day, they have a memorial where Arabs come in once a year and they pray at the site where they really believe that that's where Ali's head was. We believe that actually Ali's head might have been there, but it was then taken thereafter. Nevertheless, they consider it a holy site. Now, this is also fascinating. They found a dog cemetery of about 2,500 dogs buried in Ashkelon. They've not found that anywhere else in the world. Okay? They've dated it to the Persian period, and all the dogs died of natural causes. It's not like they were killed. It's just like there was a specific burial site for dogs, a dog cemetery. It's there, it can be seen. Here's Lady Hester Stanhope, who I mentioned beforehand. It was in 1815. She was the first one to use modern archaeological principles, and her letters and memoirs made her famous as an explorer. She was looking for a hoard of 3 million gold coins, excuse me, not 1,000, but 3 million gold coins. Didn't find any. Now, let's move to today, okay? I met David Friedman, who introduced me to Donald Trump's people with the idea of putting up a golf course in Ashkelon. And we were all set to go until Trump won the elections, okay? And David became the ambassador to Israel. These are the plans. It was to build a 500-room hotel, a spa and tennis courts, 18-hole golf course, 67 villas, and of course parking. And the site is perfectly located along the seashore. This is a letter from Trump himself, which he wrote to Benny Buckton, who was the mayor of the city of Ashland at the time in 2013. Okay? And I draw your attention to the fact that he says, thank you for your letter of November 11th, 2012. I'm excited about the prospect of developing a world-class golf course and resort alongside the Mediterranean Sea in your beautiful city. As you point out in your letter, I have great affection and respect for the state of Israel and its citizens, and I believe that Israel deserves to be included amongst the select communities that host Trump International courses. I'm including some material that describe other Trump International golf courses. They are considered by experts to be the very best in the world. I hope to be in a position to visit you and your city In the interim, please work closely with David Friedman and his colleague, Mr. Zwebner, that's me, on this potential project. Best wishes, and I'm sure you recognize his signature. Here is a letter from the new mayor who took over, Itamar Shimoni, who's now no longer the mayor. Now we have Mr. Glum is the mayor, but this was written in 2014. As the new mayor of Ashkelon, I welcome your interest in helping us develop our beautiful city and involvement in establishing a world-class golf course and recreation center. I invite you to continue to be in contact with Moshiko Geert and David Zwebner. Moshiko is a friend of mine who lives in Ashkelon. All the requirements and extend my personal invitation to you to visit our dynamic and vibrant city. It's very possible that Trump will now have more free time and he just might come and visit our beautiful city. Here's me and David Friedman. Now, let me tell you about Ashkelon today, okay? And you got to remember, this all started by the South African Jewish community, okay? South Africans have got a tremendous amount to be proud of because I don't think there's any other city in this country that was built, financed, and established by a foreign group, not for themselves, but for immigrants. The South Africans did it. And it's really something to be extremely proud of and something which really needs to be broadcast loud and clear to South Africans, not just to Israelis. Okay, so on the top left, you have the Cosmic Beer Factory, which is most important. On the right, desalination plant. I think we mentioned, Teddy, you mentioned about water earlier on. So one of the biggest desalination plant in Israel is located in Ashkelon. Israel Electric Corporation, it's based there. The Eilat Ashkelon oil pipeline, which by the way, is already being used apparently for Saudi oil, okay, to push Saudi oil all the way through to get it through to Europe, right? And that way, minimizing the risk that the Saudis face from Iran. This is a Mikhlala where I studied. I have to tell you, it's a fabulous place. It was very fortuitous that I discovered it. I saw an advert somewhere that tour guides can do a BA in tourism and Yediat Haaretz if they have a tour guide license, which I had. And they do 2 to 3 days a week. And I kept coming down to Ashkelon, and every time I came, I just loved it. Of course, the reason is I felt at home because if you come, you'll see that the houses and the whole area is built like areas of South Africa. There's a lovely marina, and I've actually just signed up for a skipper course. Hope to take a skipper course there eventually. Here's a nice picture of Ashkelon and the marina area from the Mediterranean. Again, there are more houses in Ashkelon per capita than anywhere else in the country at the moment. Lovely sunset. Sunset is magnificent in Ashkelon, but effectively sunset anywhere you are on the Mediterranean in Israel, sunset is magnificent. This is one of the beaches. They say that the Ashkelon beaches are the nicest beaches in the country. What's really good is that when you want to go to the beach from your apartment, you don't have to go down a hill like you would in Netanya. Here is straight, flat. Lots of fauna and flora. Here's another view of the city. And what's happening now in the future is they're planning a high-tech park to open in 2021 and expanding the population from the present 175,000 today to 450,000 over the next 10 years, which is quite amazing. Ashkelon is going to become one of the biggest cities in the country. Let's not forget Samson and Delilah. They say it all started around about in Ashkelon. We're not quite sure, but that's what they say. And I'm passionate about Ashkelon, as you probably know. How did I get to Ashkelon? I will tell you, just as we end off. I was doing Miluim in a place called Tarkumir. Tarkumir is about half an hour out of Ashkelon. And this was in 2006, 2007. It was just before my tour guide exams. And there was a kid on the base who was getting out for Shabbat, and I was being released. And he came from Ashkelon. And I thought, you know what? I haven't been to Ashkelon since my days in Kerem B'Yavne, which was in 66, 67. maybe I should go and take a look at Ashkelon before my exams, just to refresh my memory. So I drove him home, dropped him off at Barzilai Hospital. That's where he asked to be dropped off. And I was just starting to move on. I saw in front of me the Mediterranean, which you can see behind this picture. And I'd forgotten that Ashkelon was actually on the Mediterranean. So I drove straight down to the beach, okay? And within, honestly, I mean, that Friday, I walked into a building, the only building on the beach. Walked inside and I said, do you have anything for sale? And they said, sure, what do you want? I said, well, you know, and remember I was filthy army uniform. I'd been in the field for like 2 weeks. I don't know how serious you thought I was, but I said, well, it's got to have at least 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. And it must have uninterrupted view of the sea. And yeah, I like the sun, so it's got to be the southern side. There's no problem. Like all good Israelis, he takes me to the northern side, shows me 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom. I said, no, Chaim, if you don't have, listen, I need Afrikai, I need the Dugri. You know, don't waste my time, I won't waste yours. So he took me down to show me an apartment on the 6th floor. And yes, they had 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. And I said, what about a Marsan? He said, yeah, Marsan, we can give you $5,000. I said, okay, and parking? Yeah, parking comes with underground, okay. What about air conditioning? It's another $5,000, we can put an air conditioning for you. I said, okay, how much is the parking? He said, 600,000. I said, ma, 600,000? That's more expensive than Jerusalem. I said, lo, shekel, lo dollar. I said, shekel. I did a quick calculation. It worked out then, the rate was 420 to the dollar. It worked out $135,000. I said, okay, so listen, I'll make you an offer. 100,000 shekel for the next 6 months, 100,000 each month. It was July then. I said, okay. And and it includes air conditioning, and includes parking, and includes my son, includes everything. And if you say yes, I'll bring my wife here on Sunday. And if she says yes, we have a deal. He said, no, ma pitom. I said, okay. I got up and I started walking out. I said, you said no. I said, no, sit. I said, no. I said, listen, Chaim, I'm serious. If you say yes, we have a deal. I'll bring my wife. And then if she says yes, it's closed. I said, no, bring your wife. I said, no, unless we agree on the price and we agree on the terms, I'm not going to bring my wife. So it took him a couple more minutes to realize I'm quite serious. We shook hands. I came home. Erev Shabbat, I said, Ron, I saw this place on the beach. Her eyes lit up. She said, Kisaria? I said, nope. I said, Natanya? Nope. She says, where? I said, Ashkelon. She said, Ashkelon? What? I said, do me a favor. Just come with me. You've got to come with me on Sunday. You've got to see this place. Well, kind of long story short, she came down on Sunday with one of my grandchildren, and I think my daughter-in-law, one of my daughters-in-law came as well. And it was a no-brainer. We kept it. And from there, I mean, I went into real estate. I've been selling apartments there. I've been promoting Ashkelon. I'm in love with the place. So what can I tell you? To me, it was just a no-brainer, you know, but nothing happens by chance. And as I started telling you, you didn't pick this date because of any link to us capturing Ashkelon in the 4th of November, 1948, 72 years ago, but it just turns out that we are 72 years since that date when Israelis captured Ashkelon. So I hope this has been interesting, and if you have any questions, you're more than welcome, but I think I've more or less exhausted the subject for now, and if anybody wants to come down and see the place, and you want to buy an apartment, you're welcome to call me, although I really don't have much left, I must tell you, and I'm not joking. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. That was really interesting, and I'm really glad that you shared it with us. I've actually been to your apartment, and I think that you have 2 right next to each other. Isn't that so?
Yes, I have. Yes.
2 next to each other, you know, right in the same apartment, and it was a magnificent view. I wouldn't mind. Anyway, guys, if anybody has some questions to David, please unmute yourselves and ask David the questions.
Am I unmuted? Can you hear me, David?
Certainly, Fonda. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. It was a fascinating lecture, and it brings back so many memories. to my, to
I don't have a question.
sorry,
Okay.
can you hear me?
Yeah, finish, Fonda. We hear you well.
That brings back memories when I was a caterer in Renana, and I did the welcome for Gary Player in Israel to promote the Ashkelon golf course. So you showed the course, but did it actually take off? I heard that there's not enough funds. Does it exist? The
No,
golf.
it never, I'll answer you. It never took off then, for whatever reason. I wasn't involved at the time. But then we really became involved in 2007, 2008. I started looking into it. And then I met David Friedman, and that's how I got to Donald Trump. Right? In 2013, it was very, very serious. We had permissioning from the area to go ahead. And then, of course, Trump was elected. So David Friedman said, look, we can't, we're just going to have to put this thing on ice. So we put it on ice. So now let's see what happens. You never know.
That's interesting. Okay. I have lovely memories. Okay. He's a charming man, Gary Player.
Okay. Gary, I never met, but
Yeah.
and I can't say the same about Donald Trump either. But
No.
David Friedman is a charming gentleman. Yes.
I'd like to ask a question, if I may. I'm from
Certainly,
Bobby.
Cynthia, please go ahead.
Okay. The South African Fed frequently offers, not frequently, from time to time, offers housing projects to South Africans or former South Africans at a reduced rate, David. And now I'm directing this to you, Doron. How about working with David for a new block for us drummies, and maybe we can find an apartment on the sea for 600,000. I'd have it like David did, mamash, today. So how about guys putting your heads together, finding something for us so we can retire by the sea? Cape Town it won't be, but it will sure as hell have the sea.
Yeah.
Go on, Doron, that's you got to answer that one.
What? What was that?
He says that Doron needs to answer that one, but actually you won't find any apartments today for 600,000, maybe for 1.7 or 1.8 million if you're lucky. Well, that's got one bedroom and a bathroom. So if David don't have any bargains, we're happy for that, and it's wonderful. But to tell you the truth, Ashkelon is a beautiful city. I personally like it myself, and I also want to retire in Ashkelon at the beach. So Cynthia will be neighbors.
I'd be happy to hear the news anytime.
Anyway.
Thank you, David. That was very fascinating. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you for the challenge, Cynthia. At the moment, Telford is building its Telford's building its fourth building. We have two buildings in Tel Aviv and the third in Renana. Those are our absorption centers, right, that we have, that I mentioned in the presentation. And we're now in the process of, please God, building our fourth building on the land that we have in Tel Aviv. It was given as a gift to Telford in 1952.
Wow. Wow.
And
how about another bait protea down in Ashkelon?
Yeah, Halavai. You know, it's true, we were involved in setting up the regional bait protea, and we do sit on their board. But all the proteas that you see now, Protea Bahar, and then there's now a new protea in Elkanah, they're all private companies. They're no longer part of the original bait protea. They sold the rights to use the name. But I think it would be wonderful to have a protea in Ashkelon.
So you and David put your heads together and start something. You know, I'm always of the entrepreneur spirit. I'm willing to help do whatever needs to be done to get this going.
Thanks for the challenge, Cynthia.
Thank you for that enthusiasm.
Once we finish our building in Tel Aviv, we can look for the next challenge. One challenge at a time. At the moment, we have an 80 million an 85 million shekel project in Tel Aviv. So at the
Wow.
moment, that's what we focus in on.
But you know, we women are much better at multitasking than you guys. So come on.
No doubt. Women can do anything a man can and even better.
Wow. Sure.
I can vouch for Cynthia because she's a leader.
Who's that shouting in the background?
Mariam from Modi'in.
Another Modine. Welcome, Mariam. Thank you. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us today.
Teddy, thank you.
If anybody
Thanks
has
a lot, Teddy.
questions for David, please ask them now. David, you're welcome to put your email up on the chat, and if they have some direct things, or if they can't find you, they're welcome to find you through Aviva. So thank you so much again for your time.
Teddy, can I just say thank you?
Sure,
Teddy, can I
yes,
just say thank you? David, really, mazel tov. What a wonderful presentation. It was incredible. And Doron, mazel tov to you. We saw you joined a wonderful club, Doron, the Grandparents Club. So mazel tov. But this is really wonderful, absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, please God, more South Africans can go to Ashkelon, like in the founders. That would be just incredible.
Thank you, Liz. Louise, would you like to share something with us?
I have a question. How would I be able to get David's book?
David, I'm sure they sell it on Amazon.
Yeah, the book is on sale on Amazon. Okay, and all the proceeds go to help Ethiopian students studying in the Mechilelet Ashkelon, who I had the good fortune to study with some of them, and I was so impressed, I can't tell you. So I think the price on Amazon is like $13 or something, and whatever comes in goes to support them.
Okay, thank you.
Is it available in any of the bookshops in Israel? You don't know?
No, definitely not.
No.
I didn't. No,
Okay, Amazon's just as good as anywhere else. Well done. Does anybody else want to ask a question? Stanley, please go ahead.
Please. First of all, we have very good memories of Ashkelon. We did our Merkaz Klita there in Barnea. I don't know whether it's still there, but and there were a lot of South Africans there at the time. But when you mentioned about occupation and work and things, I don't remember there being really much industrial. You mentioned Carlsberg, but as terms of employment for people living in Ashkelon, where is most of the employment done there in the area?
Right. So first of all, Ashkelon is now on the main railroad system, which goes through Sderot, Beersheba, Tel Aviv, etc. It takes 35 minutes to get to Tel Aviv. So if you look at the railway station, you'll see the place is packed with cars. A lot of people commute to work. They go as far as Zichron, where the train gets to as well. Really, that's the kind of employment you're getting there. There's not that much employment inside the city itself. It's a garden city. I have my two brothers who've moved there, Michael and John T. Zwebner. They moved there with their families a year ago. They keep on saying to me, they think they're on holiday all the time. Okay, the one used to commute to Tel Aviv, but he doesn't anymore because since Corona, he works from home. And it looks like they will continue to work from home. He's selling financial software. And the other one actually runs a retirement home in the States. He's a controller for a retirement home, but he does that from Ashkelon, does it online. So,
okay, thanks.
You know,
and how many South Africans?
Which year were you there?
How many South Africans? What's the sort of activity of South Africans in Ashkelon today, or how many are there? Was it a very active community, or what?
No, there are very few South Africans in Ashkelon today. It wasn't built for South Africans. It was built for new immigrants. So the city is full of new immigrants, but a lot of Anglos have been coming recently. Look, in the last 2 months, I've sold 10 apartments to Anglos who live in Israel, okay, coming from Bet Shemesh, Ranana, the Gush, okay, who are looking and they're saying, you know what, we need, really what happened is because of Corona, people are not traveling and they're looking to see where they can spend time with their kids and their grandchildren. And they started looking to see, you know, maybe they can go to a hotel or something. Hotels were closed. They looked to see if they could rent something, and There was nothing to rent in Ashkelon, okay? So they decided, you know what, maybe it's time we should buy an apartment on the beach, which we can use in the future, right, as a holiday home. And maybe we'll retire here. And that's the same reason that they're all using. Look, I was there on Friday, I'm going down again today. You know, there's a huge demand and there's extremely limited supply. And I'm not trying to plug Ashkelon from a real estate point of view. I'm just being absolutely realistic. It's quite astonishing.
David, thank you. I see there are a few questions on the chat. Somebody referred to the closeness to Gaza. Do you want to comment a bit on that?
I'm sorry, first of all, I can't see how to get to the chat. Just a second, let me see how to
Okay, you should have a little dot, otherwise Viva will send you a message. It says here from Joel Hochberg to everybody.
Right.
What about the closeness to Gaza? I mean, there's...
Closest to Gaza. Yeah, it's close to Gaza. It's about, I would say, I think 40 kilometers to Gaza. Okay. So what? You know, it's like people, when I went to South Africa with Doron to the Aliyah Expos, I was there twice, twice. And a lot of people would come up to our booth, and the first thing they would say is, Gaza Qasamim, right? And I said, listen, we've had bus bombs in Jerusalem and bus bombs in Tel Aviv. We still have stabbings sometimes in Jerusalem. And we had a war with Lebanon, okay, where they were firing Katyushas at Tzfat, Haifa, Tiberias, okay? The reason Ashkelon was so cheap is that nobody wanted to go there because of that fact. But remember, Ashkelon is just extremely strategically important. It's the first place in the country that had the Iron Dome, right? Israel recognizes how important it is. And look, let's face it, with all the wars that we've had with Hamas, there's almost nothing has happened to Ashkelon. I really want to point out something most important. When you hear something that they say that there was something fired at Chof Ashkelon is not the city of Ashkelon. Chof Ashkelon is a huge, huge area. So yes, you hear the word Ashkelon once in a while, but it's not the city of Ashkelon. And the proof is in the pudding. You speak to the local residents and you'll hear that there's almost nothing happens, okay? They're not trying to hit Ashkelon.
Well, they only have 15 seconds, but it's not connected. Anyway, again, thank you, everybody. Would anybody else like to ask a question?
Teddy, I'd just like to again say thank you to everyone, and special thank you to David. It's always wonderful to learn from David. I learned from his father as the rabbi, and now I learned from his son. So it's always great to be together, and thank you for that, and thank you to Aviva and Teddy. I'd also just like to mention for those people who are looking to where to give a donation to help needy Olim. So please consider Telfed. We've received two awards from the Israeli government. Telfed has received these awards, has been an excellent organization. You would think that when we receive 2 awards from the government, you'd also receive funding. But the government funding amounts to less than 1% of Telfed's budget. So if you are looking for a worthwhile organization whereby you can also assist Southern African and Australian Olim in need, please remember Telfed, and the details are on the chat. You can do so very easily through the Telfed website, and you can dedicate a lovely card to a loved one. You can honor somebody through the website. It's very easy to do so. So I'd like to recommend that to all those who are looking for a worthwhile place to donate. Toda rabah, and I wish everybody a choref bari, a very healthy winter, and keep safe and happy.
Thank you, Doron. I just would like to remind everybody that we have upcoming events in November. We have a partnership with the Ariel University and have 3 fantastic lectures will be given by the professors of the university. The next one is Tuesday the 10th at 11 o'clock. Dr. Eliashiv Drury, he will be speaking about wine production and lost grapes, really fascinating topic. So I invite you all to the next online event. Take care, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. David, once again, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
David. That
Thank you,
was
guys.
wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for
Shalom,
joining us.
everyone. Thank
Have
you,
a great
David.
day, everyone.
Take care. Mazal tov again.